train for it, and when you have to do it, you can actually do it.
On the training grounds of the southeastern United States, America's newest commandos prepare to do battle in the 21st century.
People just want to take the easy way out. We need the soldier who's going to take the hard road.
Here, young men learn the skills of guerrilla warfighting and embark on a year-long journey to wear the coveted Green Beret.
These soldiers are not the Hollywood version of soldiers. They're the real thing. They do things that Hollywood can't imagine.
For some, the journey begins at the Ranger Training School at Fort Benning, Georgia, home to the Army's elite infantry, the 75th Ranger Regiment.
Reverse punch into his chest or sternum region.
In an age of precision-guided weapons, the Rangers are the only Army unit that still trains all its troops in hand-to-hand combat. Part boxing, part judo, they are taught to use speed and power to topple their opponent and then deliver a crippling blow to his throat.
If something happens in the family or whatever, everybody bonds together. I mean, it's the people here.
Fort Benning is also home to the most sophisticated urban training center in the world. It was designed to prepare U.S. Rangers for combat in densely packed urban centers, the battleground that many think will dominate future war.
In an urban setting, there are so many places to hide. The adversary has so many ways to come at you. That is probably the last place in the world that you would ever want to fight if you could avoid it, because it eats people, it eats resources, and it costs lives.
More than any other, the Army's tragic experience in Somalia spurred this emphasis on urban assault. October 3rd, 1993. Hulks of destroyed U.S. vehicles are strewn across the streets of Mogadishu after a mission to capture a Somali warlord has gone terribly wrong.
The best way I can describe it would be to compare it to a Mad Max film. I mean, I can remember watching one of those Mad Max films and thinking, this is ridiculous. You know, human beings would never treat each other that way, even in a post-apocalyptic situation. People were killing each other for vehicles. People were killing each other for medicines, for food.
It was nuts how close some of that fighting was. Behind a wall, shooting at you, or putting it out the window and shooting at you, or running up to the vehicles and shooting.
For Ranger Kenny Thomas and the others from the 75th, it is a bloody and confusing baptism by fire.
It was basically everybody and their brother who had a weapon in that city came running.
The battle rages for 18 hours, the U.S. Army's worst firefight since Vietnam. Before it's over, 18 U.S. soldiers lie dead and 78 are wounded.
The consequences of combat are right there for you. There's a lot of people that were wounded. And for those of us who came out who weren't shot or wounded, there's this strange sense of guilt that you carry with you for the rest of your life. Why was the machine gunner hit? You know, you sit there and you go over it in your head a bunch of times, is what would I have done differently?
After Somalia, U.S. Special Operations commanders construct this village. It is the most fought-over town in the world. Each of its 15 buildings is outfitted with office furniture, vending machines, and an enemy guerrilla force. In these close quarters, the devastation can be quick and brutal. In one confused instant, the soldiers must separate friend from foe. A second's hesitation can cost them their lives, or the lives of those fighting beside them.
Which gives a representation of where you're at.
Like a real-life version of The Truman Show, the city is wired with over 62 cameras and microphones.
We own a good chunk of the outside of the building. At this point, we're going to secure and then reduce 2 floors. Direct your attention to the middle of the screen right here. That's Rogers coming in, or is that Bonapane? Bonapane? Okay. Let's look at the OT viz, which will give us a little more proximity on where people are located in relationship to the room. Like he's more out into
In this
room.
high-tech version of laser tag, each soldier wears an electronic marker that tracks his movements on a 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional model.
Speed is security, so they did the right thing, sir.
Before entry, they use a flashbang grenade. The smoke and fire disorients the adversary and provides cover for the soldiers poised to enter. In this scenario, intelligence indicates that every room conceals armed enemy troops.
I came in and got maybe 1 round off before the enemy went down. Corporal Monica pulled security on that door to the left, and I moved up and checked the enemy, took his weapon, checked the body, made sure he was dead, and then Stack left.
Everybody watch Feldman here. I don't know if they entered the room so quick and they start firing at him so fast, I don't know whether he was getting pelted or whether he was unsure of what guy he was going to shoot at.
16 Romeo, 15.
Each soldier must be aware of exactly where the others are. Once he catches peripheral sight of his teammate, he has reached the outer edge of his firing sector.
Daniels, how'd it go?
Looked good. I think they probably could have penetrated deep into the room a little faster.
We have a platoon going in to take down a high-priority target. That has the possibility of several Rangers getting injured or gunshot in this case, or fragmentation, or falling through the windows, becoming a deceleration accident. And our ultimate goal is the ability to provide U.S. standard of medicine anywhere in the world that these guys go on a target.
Refill there is now. First floor secure. Evacuate cabin. No blood. No blood. Hyperventilating. I have bilateral rise and fall in chest.
Today, field medics are an integral part of the exercise. In future urban assault, some expect 25% losses to be the norm. Rangers who train in house-to-house fighting must also learn how to storm the town in the first place. Here, they prepare for the next level, a live-fire daytime assault. The target? A cluster of buildings shielding an enemy weapon site. The goal? Total destruction.
Ranger forces are the classic go, assault, kick in the door kinds of forces.
Anywhere between 300 rounds, depending on the weapon system.
Each 9-man team packs nearly 300 pounds of ammunition.
This is the good time, though. Real bullets for everybody. Helicopters, ground forces, real demolitions, real ammunition.
Go ahead.
Specialist Joseph Brunoli is in charge of the recoilless rifle team. They must blow a hole in the enemy's perimeter barricade and mask the movement of the assault squad. Their weapon is the Carl Gustav.
All missile sensor equipment, all right? Give me an up when you got that.
The rounds that we're going to be firing today are the 84 millimeter heat round. It can penetrate up to 16 inches of armored steel. Heavy tanks, light armored vehicles. It's going to take them out concrete bunkers. We use them for putting holes in buildings. This fires like a rocket. It's a pretty impressive show. Being my AG, he'll make sure that's all his job is to watch the backblast, make sure no one's in the area. It spreads out to a 45-degree angle on each side.
Once Specialist Brunoli's team does their job, it's Sergeant Andrew Phipps' turn to move in. He is armed with a shotgun designed to, literally, blow down the doors.
going to give you a little bit of a kick. It's not too bad. We use it for doors, busting open locks. D10 right here on the trigger, just like a standard shotgun.
Sergeant Frank Park and his demolition squad are armed with blocks of explosives called C4, this gooey compound.
To give you an idea, one block of C4 used properly is enough to push 7 Suburbans up in the air.
The weapon is little changed since it was first used over 40 years ago during the Korean War.
I am going to be responsible for breaching a chain link fence with a charge called a ladder charge. It's shock tube, and what happens is there's a controlled explosion that goes down here, and the burn rate's approximately 6,500 feet per second through this tube. So it's pretty much as soon as you pop it, the charge is going to go.
Every soldier wears a 25-pound protective vest, much like those worn by an inner-city police force. The ceramic plate on the front and back can stop a 7.62 millimeter round.
It's not very comfortable, but it will save your life. Pretty much we use it after Somalia, what took place.
The 120 millimeter mortar. It's the heaviest weapon in the Ranger arsenal.
Did a 30-mile foot march, tactical movement with the trailers. So 716 pounds. We had three-man squad pushing for 30 miles.
It's probably the time we least appreciated it.
Yeah, we didn't like it much then.
It's not a precision weapon, but the mortar's 7-kilometer range provides extraordinary reach for a unit that goes into battle only with what it can carry on its back.
When you see the rounds go down range and blow the hell out of other things, it's awesome.
And we'll all go back happy and drinking our Gatorade and making sure that we all know that we can go to combat and we can kill the enemy and we can win. Who's got questions for me? All right, man, let's go do it.
All right, on your feet. Stand by. Chinook. Chalk 1 is chalk 6. 53. Over here on the left, 7 and 8.
Yeah, we don't get saw.
Not all of the tools are lethal. A circular saw and wire cutters are vital to get the first wave through the outer fencing. When the President of the United States needs a target destroyed, absolutely. It's the Ranger Regiment who answers the call. They can strike anywhere in the world in 18 hours, packing over 10 different weapons and thousands of rounds. This is what separates the Rangers from a regular Army unit. There is a choreography to the chaos. Assault teams move forward in a hopscotching maneuver with the ranks behind laying down a constant and deadly covering fire. Today, there's no one shooting back. But the training that these young commandos go through was shaped by the experiences of another group of American commandos 30 years ago. In 1967, Lieutenant Bucky Burris was a 25-year-old Green Beret new to Vietnam.
I was a young man full of myself and ideals and certain expectations and a sense of adventure. Many young men feel that until they've been tested on the battlefield, they aren't really men, I suppose, and I was one of those.
In all, nearly 20,000 young Green Berets were tested on the battlefields of Southeast Asia. Lieutenant Paul Longrear, a 24-year-old Arkansan, arrives 1 month after Lieutenant Burris.
This was my chance to do the World War II, the Korea thing, you know. And I figured, hey, if I'm going to do it, I want to do it all the way. And I figured at that time the Green Berets was all the way.
In Vietnam, Green Berets act as leaders and advisors to an indigenous population known as the Montagnards. U.S. Special Forces are the first Westerners to actually employ and train the Montagnards, giving them on-the-job training in basic soldiering skills.
So I decided Lieutenant Paul Longrear is going to teach these Montagnards how to read a map. Well, I lay the map down on the ground, and I orient it toward the north, and I show them how to do that. I lay the compass on there, and they said, what is north? And so I began to explain how the world was somewhat round, and their eyes got real big, and they said, no. I said, pardon me? They said, the world can't be round or we would fall off.
In the highlands of Vietnam begins the tradition of living, fighting, and dying alongside the local population. Something Lieutenant Burris finds out just 1 month into his tour when he and his group are dropped into the middle of a firefight with North Vietnamese regulars.
Saw my first North Vietnamese soldier who was sort of running probably 10 or 15 meters away, AK-47 coming down, and my whole life didn't flash before my eyes, but I thought, hell, I'm a dead man. And the next thing I saw, I'll never forget this, it was like a running back in the NFL, you know, on an end sweep, making that cut, and he was lean that way, and he had this ring of camouflage leaves on his chest, and they just started coming apart. And he went down, and one of the Montagnards just emptied a magazine into him. It's the first time in my life was saved by a Montagnard, not the last.
To deny the North Vietnamese the use of Montagnard villages, the Americans burned them down. In a still controversial move, the Americans relocate them to camps protected by the Green Berets. One of the most remote camps is Long Vay, built less than 1 mile from the Laotian border. 2 A-teams, 24 Green Berets, are stationed there along with more than 500 Montagnard troops. June 1967. Captain Frank Willoughby assumes command of the Montagnards and learns how embittered they are.
People get homesick. They used to tell me, you're here for 1 year. You go home. We're here many, many years. We may or may not go home.
Long Vay sits astride the enemy's main supply route, the Ho Chi Minh Trail. By February 1968, the North Vietnamese ready an assault to wipe the camp out.
There just seemed to be a feeling, you know, that we were going to get, if it was not tonight, then it's going to be tomorrow night.
The suspicions are enough for the area commander, Colonel Shungle, to order Lieutenant Longrear's troops on another reconnaissance patrol.
The platoon and the 2 Americans came back in, firing their weapons and stuff, said there's enemy out there. And Colonel Shungle came to me and said, I want that platoon to go back out. They didn't take any casualties, and so I'm not convinced there's actually soldiers out there.
Just beyond the wire, the patrol encounters the tip of a North Vietnamese assault, up to 1,000 strong.
At about a quarter after midnight, Sergeant Fraggles dropped a loom round and quietly leans over and yells down, we've got tanks in the wire. And there were 3 tanks setting down at the entrance coming in from Lang Troy.
Until now, the only tanks seen in Vietnam had been American ones. Captain Willoughby, from an underground bunker in the center of the camp, quickly radios the warning to his troops. The Montagnards need no warning. Located on the outer perimeter, they are the first to come face to face with the tanks.
Bullets are coming in, but there's no enemy soldiers. The yards are doing a great job. I mean, they're kicking butt. But all we're doing is just standing there kind of having tea and crumpets. And then all of a sudden, a tank broke through. And, hello, world.
They are armed with the M72 light anti-tank weapon, a new shoulder-launched missile with an electrical firing mechanism that proves unreliable in the damp jungle.
I tried 4 of them. Finally, on the 4th one, it went boom. It fired, and you can see the trajectory. It goes, and it hits the tank and goes, and shoots up in the air. We looked at us. Oh man, this ain't making it. You know, something is wrong here. Well, that got the tank's attention. Okay, the tank stops, and he like, this is his main gun. He goes, and he points it toward us. And I said, hey guys, I think it's time to leave this bunker.
By now, enemy tanks are everywhere. Captain Willoughby demands rescue from the Marine base up the road. The Marine colonel denies his request.
He said, "You have been officially written off by higher headquarters." And at that point in time, with a few expletives, I told him what he could do with his Marines. And his comment was, "You can't talk to me that way, I'm a colonel." And I said, "If I'm officially written off, what the hell are you going to do about it?"
And the Marine commander reportedly told Willoughby, I think, said, "Well, there's only 8 of you left alive, and it might kill more Marines trying to save you 8 than the 8 of you." Well, militarily that makes sense, unless you're one of the 8.
After 2.5 frantic hours, the camp is overrun. Enemy tanks and soldiers are sitting on top of the bunker, demanding their surrender. Throughout the night, the North Vietnamese troops lob grenades and set off high explosive rounds in the hole, hoping to force out the Green Berets.
Even while I was pinned in the bunker, surrendering was never an option. The will to resist was still there. Amongst all of my people, not a one of them said surrender.
By now, at least 9 Americans and hundreds of Montagnards are dead. Others disappear into the jungle. The only hope for the 8 surviving Green Berets is to call airstrikes in on their own position. Lieutenant Longrear, determined to die fighting rather than face capture and execution, decides to leave the bunker.
My quote was, "You people can stay down here and die like worms. I'm going up on the ground and die like a man."
As he heads for the perimeter, his wounded ankle gives way and he lands flat on his back, unconscious.
I became aware of a presence, and I thought it was an enemy soldier because till today I'm convinced I heard feet shuffling on the ground. So I had my rifle slung over my shoulder in case I got hit, I wouldn't lose it. And I turned around where I heard the noise to hit the enemy soldier, and there wasn't anybody there. I looked up, and this airplane had stopped in midair. It wasn't making a sound, it wasn't moving. I looked over at this tank, and smoke had been coming out of it. You know how smoke will kind of wisp out, and it wasn't moving. And the artillery rounds that they'd been firing them outside of the perimeter, and stopped in midair. And I said, "Man, this is weird. What is going on here? Maybe this is what happens before you die or something, you know." And at that time, I had an encounter with the Lord. And the Lord just basically gave me an option that I could get up and walk out of there, or I could lay there and die.
Between bombing runs, 7 wounded Green Berets struggle to a rescue helicopter. The 8th is too close to death to risk the lives of the others. The bunker becomes his grave.
I left over 450 people behind. My last comment, I was the last member of my team off of the hill in the evacuation helicopter. And I saluted it and relinquished my command to God and to the dead.
Today, the legacy of Vietnam continues. American Green Berets still travel far from U.S. shores to train foreign troops.
Several things make us special. That's our ability to communicate across cultural lines. That's our ability to have good interpersonal skills with everybody, people from the United States or whatever different country we're working in. That's one of the unique things that we bring to the battlefield.
U.S. Special Forces are normally invited by the host government, but this wasn't always the case. During the Cold War years, they prepared as uninvited guests to make their way through the varied terrain of the Warsaw Pact. These infiltration skills are still taught.
An army has a couple functions. One, it has to move from point A to point B. And the important part is when it gets to point B, it must be combat effective. Can they move all night? and then become combat effective 12 hours later?
We have I set up over 16 ropes this morning. We have a 5-rope fixed line.
Green Beret candidates are divided into geographic specialties.
Look right where your right knee is. See that flake there? Step there. Now stand up.
Those who will fight in mountainous regions are trained to be expert climbers.
238 gram parts. Anybody loop got your fire, Sergeant?
Others, who will fight in coastal regions, must learn the skills needed to work at depths over 100 feet. More than any other, the parachute remains their most common tool for infiltration. Every soldier hoping to be a Green Beret must be airborne qualified. Special Forces candidates come to the John F. Kennedy Special Warfare School at Fort Bragg from regular Army units, some from Ranger training. Of the 1,000 that apply, only about 30% will actually make it all the way through. The weeks of sleep deprivation, 25-mile road marches, and intensive guerrilla training weed out those who lack the physical and mental stamina.
Rip your helmet right now.
The Army's best and brightest gather in hopes that they will soon enter the ranks of the elite.
I see all these guys with all this different experiences in combat arms. Yeah, I feel special to be a part of the team. It's something you won't find like in a conventional unit.
Green Beret units are commonly called A-teams, finely tuned squads of 10 sergeants, each with their own specialty, led by 2 officers. This one's called Team 925. They are 2 weeks away from the end and rehearsing the jump that will take them into their final exam.
Okay, let's do PLF. 2 lines on the ramp.
They're not really supposed to be the quintessential guerrilla fighters. They're supposed to be better at guerrilla fighting than the guerrilla is.
Ready! Get ready!
For the coming 2 weeks, Team 925 will rely on their wits and the land. Those who fail will be sent back to their regular unit. The exercise is called Robin Sage. Throughout Robin Sage, Sergeant Bob Creel will serve as their teacher and evaluator.
Once they graduate from here, if they do, then we are saying that these are mature NCOs and officers that can handle the stresses and everything that are going to be put in front of them.
Within 6 hours, the team will jump into a pitch-black night over unknown enemy terrain.
I'll probably be thinking, hope my parachute opens. After that's done, you're on the ground. You tend to not worry about your life in the immediate future and start worrying about the mission.
Like the Green Berets of Vietnam, the students' mission is to make their way through hostile territory to make contact with and train a guerrilla resistance force.
Right now it's real quiet in here. Everybody's relaxed. Once we hit the ground, we'll lose at least 5 pounds of water.
They are lightly armed, each man carrying around 210 rounds of ammunition. Most are equipped with the M4, a modified M16.
It's like an M16, shorter barrel, retractable stock.
Hit the ground, just pull it up. Pull it out, your weapon's ready to go. You also get a magazine inside, so you go ahead and place it inside the weapon. You're ready to fight if you have to.
A C-130 makes the quick hop behind the lines. Their destination? Pineland, a fictional country in the woods of North Carolina. In the Robin Sage scenario, Pineland was recently overthrown by a despotic leader. Team 925 has been called upon by the resistance force to restore the previous government to power.
Go, 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 go.
Once on the ground, they remain still to let their eyes adjust to the dark. With only a few sets of night vision gear, they rely on compasses and maps to find their way to the base camp of the guerrilla, or G-Force. The enemy, the current government forces of Pineland, are everywhere.
We constantly work on our stealth. You're looking for movement, you're looking for possible enemy tracking you, and you're moving slow. Then you, like around here, you got a lot of loud locusts, and that masks you moving a lot.
They rely on the cover of night for security. Crossing a road leaves them vulnerable for split seconds. This time, it's just long enough for the enemy to ambush them. The team returns fire, providing cover for a quick retreat into the woods. In this case, speed is security.
The biggest element to a guerrilla survival is mobility. He has to be able to move at a moment's notice and move out of an area and stay fluid so the enemy can't pin him down or back him up against someplace where he can't get out of and crush him.
There are 18 members of Team 925. Among them are specialists in demolitions, weapons, communications, intelligence, and field medicine. Captain Bill Rose is their team leader and the man responsible for getting them to their first goal, finding the base camp of the resistance force.
You have to make sure control is there in terms of signals, messages, and information getting to every member of a patrol. They have to know what's going on with everybody at all times, and you have to make sure that any movement, as soon as somebody's separated and you don't know exactly what they're doing and where they're going, you've lost control. So you've got to make sure that that doesn't happen at all.
These guys are just thrown together, so the communication and the information flow within the detachment is always something they have to work on, and I mentor that a lot.
For the next 14 days, Sergeant Creel will document their journey with a high-8 camera.
Now at this point, they have been awake for anywhere from 24 to 26 hours. The type of terrain that they'll be walking through, this is the nicest.
29 hours after infiltrating, they finally locate the guerrilla base camp. First, they must establish trust with the local guerrilla chief, Rowe.
Whether you're sitting down there or here.
He proves to be a hard man to impress.
Go ahead and sit there. You don't need to get up. Show me where you're at. Right in there. Don't draw it down a circle. Point to a point and say, I am right there. No in doubt. We are right there. You are wrong. You're not right there. I'm not going to show you where you're at until I think, if I want you guys in here, maybe then I'll show you where you're at. Because if I show you where you're at
Much
right
of Robin Sage is a mind game. The guerrillas are instructed to treat the A-teams with utter contempt.
Kill us all. Go and throw the map right over here. That's how you get up. I said, fuck, throw that. Sit back down. Just like the other captains, don't want to listen.
I don't know if he ever actually warmed up to us all the way. You've got to work with somebody who doesn't necessarily want you there.
I don't understand. I don't understand what the hell you're telling me, Captain. I don't think you understand what you're telling me. I think you need to sit there and think about it for a little while. No, you do need to explain to me because I know Captain. They like to tap dance. I don't have time to tap dance out here. I won't tap dance.
In the real world, Rowe is an experienced Special Forces officer who understands the value of tough training.
I think that's it. Hey guys, put up bridge team.
Establishing rapport is a crucial skill for every Green Beret candidate. Team 925 spends a long, hard week living with and teaching the Pineland Resistance how to fight.
Everybody come on up. Don't worry about going down and prepping it and all. You know what you're going to do on that and all, you know. But while that's ongoing, you guys are going to come to the center and we're going to talk and find out what's on the objective at that point. They have to trust us, and we have to trust them. The training we've conducted, the things that we've learned from each other, both cultures and all, they've provided us some food. We've shown them how to prepare it.
Here, a sympathetic Pinelander donates food to the guerrillas, not the kind of breakfast they've become accustomed to back at Fort Bragg.
How long you guys been without chow?
Yesterday. Some guys still have one meal. Come on, Pick.
This is the Phase 3 pig event. Boys haven't eaten in a little while, so they definitely want to get those pigs back to their base camp.
Oh, when you get off? Yeah, I know it might be a little mixed up.
All the tests they face are based on real-world Special Forces experiences, including life without creature comforts. For Sergeant Valencia, it's hardly a challenge.
My favorite moment when I'm out there is when we've been ruck marching for a long time or going on a patrol for, 10 to 12 hours. And it's at night and the moon's up high and we stop for a security halt. I fall down on the ground and for a moment, I just look up and I see the moon shining through the trees. And for that moment, because it's really quiet, and for that moment I got complete solitude, complete peace. And I look up and I have to smile. I have to, because it's beautiful. And you don't get to do that every day.
I don't take prisoners of war. Do you?
Day 5 brings a new test. A woman enters the camp with a bag of explosives intending to assassinate Rowe. The situation pits Captain Rose against the guerrilla commander.
What'd you come here to do?
This time the captain's faced with a dilemma. A human rights violation is about to possibly occur.
Rowe, the guerrilla commander, doesn't take prisoners. He wants to kill her. Enforcing the Geneva Convention can jeopardize the team's relationship and security.
Somebody knows she's here. Somebody sent her. She couldn't have operated autonomously.
In a situation like that, ultimately comes to a really hard choice of, do you risk the lives of all the men in the camp as well as her, defending her, help you?
I tell you what, I'm going to give you 5 minutes to figure out what you want to do.
Who said I was going to shoot her? If we blow her up, if we
I tell you what, I want to go and talk to her myself. I'm going to interrogate her.
Rowe and 2 guerrillas lead the girl away.
He seems powerless at the hands of the guerrilla chief in his domain. What decisions does he make? The girl's just been assassinated.
The captain was really not dumbfounded, but the gears were turning continuously. And at one point, when they took the girl up the trail, I thought he was going to run after him because he started that way, and I'm like, you're going to lose it. But he stopped, and you could just see him trying to think, what am I supposed to do? So it was a good dilemma.
I ask you again, are you going to tell the colonel that you are reporting him of a human rights violation?
No, we're not.
Do they want to be associated with this act? And that's where they have to separate themselves. Plus, in addition to try and stop it through advice, they can't physically stop it. So all they can do is really report and not let the guerrilla chief know that they're reporting it. They'd lose all rapport at that point.
Desert Storm. In a little-known incident, a Special Forces A-team faces a similar human rights dilemma. Before the ground war begins, they are sent to watch movement along a major highway, 150 miles into Iraq. According to the Central Intelligence Agency, the area is unpopulated.
We lay there, and we hear the dogs in the background, And that was one of the questions we'd asked. Are there dogs in the area? Of course, we're going into an area that, based on all our intelligence, there's nothing there. So when we heard the dogs, we knew one of two things. You know, we're either in the wrong place or something's gone seriously wrong here.
Each of the 8 soldiers carries nearly 200 pounds on his back.
And I'm a little guy, you know, I'm 65 inches tall. I'm the average height of a woman. I weighed 154 pounds, and my rucksack weighs at least as much as I do, and it was kicking my butt.
Before daybreak, they have to dig a chest-deep hole in the sand and construct the underground bunker they will live in until the ground war starts.
It starts to weigh on you. You know, you have to eat, sleep, defecate. You know, you once you go in, you don't come out.
The next morning, 2 young girls come out to the farm fields to play, just a few meters from their hole. The soldier observing the road realizes the girls have stopped playing. Their eyes are on him.
He goes, she sees me. And we're just sitting there, you know, staring at him. I grabbed the 9mm there that we had one silenced 9mm and a silenced MP5. All of a sudden, he says, there she goes. And the girls started, you know, moving away. So immediately, I'm going out of the hole with the 9mm, and then Ski's right behind me, and the whole time, I go out and I basically get a bead on the little girl, and I'm like, Bulldog, what do we do? What do we do? The fear that those little girls had. I mean, they knew when they came up on us that they were basically at the wrong place at the wrong time.
So we're going to shoot these kids. That's what they wanted to know. And had I said, yeah, shoot them, they would have shot the kids. There's no doubt in my mind that they would have followed my orders. I'm a father, I have a Christian background, and these kids were unarmed. It was an instant decision. You know, there wasn't a lot of time to think about it and ponder and said, no, we're not going to shoot the kids.
Bulldog, Chief Balwans, is the team leader. Decisions to kill innocents fall to him. Later that day, an old goat herder wanders past their hiding spot. This time, it's Chief Balwans who makes eye contact.
And deals, you know, if you make eye contact with somebody, you know, yeah, they see me. And I drop back in the ditch all the time hoping, well, maybe they didn't, you know, that goes through, maybe they didn't see me.
Of course, you had the same choice, shoot them or let them go. He just made a beeline for the highway, and that's when our troubles began.
Within minutes, truckloads of armed Iraqi soldiers and civilians start heading toward the field. The Americans open up. Sergeant DeGroff launches a high-explosive round.
It sailed right just over their heads. You know, they jumped down and actually landed in the ditch, which was to our benefit. And then explosion goes off, you know, HE round, and then they started peeling out of the ditch. Then the guys just started opening up and hitting targets. I mean, one shot, one kill, targets dropping.
Had 8 people on my team, 5 of them were school-trained snipers. So these guys were really amazing, you know, engaging targets 500 meters out and dropping people that normally, you know, you wouldn't be shooting people that far out.
Not long into the firefight, they are running out of options and ammo. But when they call for airstrikes on their own positions, they are told the planes are 20 minutes away.
You know, I'm average intelligence, but I didn't think we had 20 minutes. I remember thinking to myself, my mother, she'd been, you know, in ill health for about 5 years, and I remember thinking, you know, this is it. And when she finds out, you know, I'm fixing to get killed over here, when she finds out, it's gonna kill her.
One thing that crossed my mind as we was in the firefight was that if we have to get shot here, I thought I want to be the first guy to get shot, because I don't want to sit here and watch my men die. I'd rather them watch me die than me have to sit there and watch them die.
With the Iraqis closing in, an F-16 shows up. Unable to communicate their exact position, Sergeant DeGroff orients the pilot.
I said, can you see the moon? He goes, Roger. And you see the sun? Roger. I said, fly from the moon towards the sun, and when you're directly over me, I'm going to tell you to roll. Just roll down, look straight down, I'm going to give you a mirror flash. And he goes, Roger. You know, and it was kind of wazoo, but he does it now. Roll, and Weatherford hits him with the mirror flash, and he goes, bingo, I got you.
He tells the airmen to drop the cluster bombs danger close, within 200 meters of where the team is on the ground.
When they would hit, the whole ground was like laying in a bowl of jello. The ground would just buckle and rock and shake and move. 1 minute there was vehicles sitting there and people, and a second later it's twisted metal, secondary explosions, things burning up, and bodies laying around.
After 6 hours of fighting, the 8-man team had killed over 130 Iraqis and escaped unscathed.
We really didn't know, in our minds, whether or not we would be looked at as failures, or I don't want to use the word heroes, but whether or not we did our mission or we failed our mission. We were compromised because we made some mistakes. All your training, it comes to one big head, and you've been challenged with it. You faced life and death, and you passed.
Back in the woods of North Carolina, Team 925 is just days away from passing or failing their final test. Here at the secret meeting area of the Resistance High Command, they put together their final orders.
As Sergeant Al mentioned, is to open the table, if you will, with our conversation, and then see what they...
Captain Rose and Sergeant Thorne are blindfolded to keep the location secret. The civilian clothes are a disguise, just in case they need to blend in with the local community.
Be that as it may, understand the ground rules if we have to evacuate the premises. If these lights dim or extinguish completely, that is going to be a predetermined signal to let us know that danger is imminent and we must leave the area.
As proof of the trust built over the last week, guerrilla commanders assigned them major parts of the enemy's infrastructure to destroy.
See the sketch of the bridge. That's actually Vixen. You know what Vixen is, and you play vital and key roles in targets that are going to execute in support of that invasion. On that bridge, you can expect to find a 2- or 4-man guard post. Dangerous place in the battlefield is in the middle. That's where you face being. Yes, sir.
Colonel Lee, I wish you good luck and I wish you Godspeed.
Thank you, sir.
Team 925 has just 72 hours to take out the bridge. It will be the final test of their warfighting skills.
We'll see you on the other side in about 72 hours.
Out. It will move due north, crossing the power line area.
The group's specialists put together a plan that they and the 19 guerrillas fighting with them will carry out.
Get eyes on and look for primarily any enemy activity there. We suspect that
they are 6 kilometers and 5 hours away from the target. It may not seem far, but with their 100-pound packs, the movement will have to be slow and stealthy. Their greatest protection is the element of surprise.
When you're least expecting it, in the middle of the night, darkest part, through the thickest part of the woods, across the lousy stream, and nobody wants to get wet in, that's when we want to, sneak up and hit you.
As night falls on the bridge, armed guards pace expectantly. What these guards don't know is that Team 925 already has them in their sights. The students lie just beyond the wood line, less than 10 meters from the enemy. Oblivious, the bad guys are just seconds away from feeling the first blows of the team's assault. With machine guns blazing up to 3,000 rounds per second, the bridge guard is instantly pinned. Enemy reinforcements swarm the bridge. it's too late. Team 925's rear guard is ready for them. The demolitions team attaches 18 pounds of C4 to the main bridge support. Time is scarce. Every second exposes the group to greater danger and risks losing points on Sergeant Creel's evaluation. Sergeant Creel keeps track of the team's movements through a night vision monocle.
Let's go. Almost done. All right, Riffle, start pulling back. Let's go. Come on, back up. Come on.
You guys never got compromised.
15 when you left the target.
Nobody over there, no.
13-9.
You did a good job.
Killed
Valencia coming off because you were outside security.
All right, let's listen up.
So overall, I think you guys did a pretty decent job. You got here, you took the target. I think the Op 4 thinks you did a pretty good job. I had a couple of them tell me that, look, you just ran right over them. So that's exactly what you're supposed to do. So, hey, good job, y'all. That's all I got.
Go home. Go.
We went down to the creek. I took a bath in the creek. It was dirtier now.
It was dirty afterwards.
What's up, Sean? Yeah, that's fine.
After 2 weeks in Pineland, Team 925 returns to Fort Bragg. The test is over, and the waiting begins. Within the next 2 hours, they will each talk privately with Sergeant Creel and learn their fates.
As a whole, the team 925 did very well. There are a few individuals that I'm going to give them an invitation to come and try again.
Sergeant Creel's evaluation is valuable, but it's not final.
That if a person is marginal, I'll make that decision, whether he goes or whether he stays. My NCOs do an excellent job of deciding. When there's a question, they bring the question to me, and I am the final arbitrating authority.
If they don't make it, it means months of intensive training wasted.
Nothing's set in stone, and I don't want to. We try not to jinx ourselves. Nobody buys the tab before they come out here. Nobody buys the beret before they come out here, and you try not to jinx yourself by saying it's a sure thing before it's a sure thing. So I don't know. I feel confident. I feel like I did the best that I could.
For Sergeant Valencia, it's a sure thing.
It's not a victory. So hold that victory. Once I started the course, I knew I would. I knew I wasn't going to stop until I reached what my final goal was. Once it's in me, I'd go for it.
Welcome to the Special Forces Regimental Supper in honor of Special Forces Class 2-98.
I propose a toast to the United States Army.
Team 925 no longer exists. Each man sits with his new group. This time, Colonel Butler overrides Sergeant Creel's suggestion to send some of them back.
Woods. Nelson.
It's in there.
After almost a year, the men of Team 925 have arrived.